Welcome to another tutorial by photoshopeducation.blogspot.com. Today we're going to talk about image sizes, cropping, and canvas sizes. It's going to be a pretty quick tutorial, but before we begin, we did make a post today that we got some exciting news coming down for RSS readers only. If you're not an RSS reader, we recommend logging onto the site and left-clicking on the picture that's in the top left, which is the RSS, we'll say, logo on that. It's got a plus sign on it. And what it's going to be is a Photoshop challenge. We'll have a different section for challenges. If you don't subscribe, it's not a huge deal, but you won't get the updates on it. And we're not going to promote any of these Photoshop challenges to tutorial sites, so we expect it not to get really picked up by any search engines, so it's kind of going to be sitting there. I don't want to say hidden because it's going to be visible, but what it's going to do is we want you to start to use some of the previous tutorials. We want you to start mixing and matching, such as the using the marquee tool with maybe the text, or maybe using some of the custom shapes. What we're going to do is we're going to actually make an image, and what we want you to do is try to recreate that image for us and see how well you can do. And it will be up to you to say, hey, you know, I was close or I wasn't close, and you can post your comments on that. And don't worry if you don't get it right. We're going to have, if you scroll down towards the bottom, we're going to have some tips and tricks to walk you through it. And if you really don't get it, we're going to have actually the Photoshop Challenge answer video. Now all the answers will say to make up this image is going to be related to previous tutorials. We're not going to throw anything that's new and improved in there. So some of the first ones are going to be very basic. But today we want to talk about the image size, the canvas size, and the cropping tool. We've used this picture before. It's actually called DSC 03562. It's a picture of a sky. Most of us have this in the previous tutorials. If you don't, no big deal. Go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the blog and left-click download supporting files. Let's go ahead and open it up. Now the first area we want to show you is the actual cropping tool. I left-clicked on the marquee tool, and let's say I only wanted this cloud. Now when you crop, you're basically saying anything inside the marching ants you want to keep. Everything else you want to discard. You're going to crop out everything else. So you first got to make a selection, and then you come to image and left click crop. And you'll notice everything else is gone. It's not hidden. It's actually permanently gone. But Photoshop makes it real easy. Let's say you cropped it in too much. You could do a Control Z. Let's do that. And that does an undo. But that's cropping. Now the next area we want to show you don't have to have anything selected. So I'm just either Control D or left click off of it. And the next area is image size. Let's say this is this image. You know, I don't want to crop it anything. I just want to make it a little bit smaller because it's pretty large right now. Go ahead and left click on the image menu, come down to image size. Now some people might be familiar with this dialog box because it's very similar to the new document dialog box. Actually asks you what width and height. Now if you wanted to change this constrained proportions is important. You want to keep that checked most of the time. Let's say we wanted to make it a little bit height a little bit taller or a little bit shorter. You know, we can do that, but it's going to stretch it, or it's going to look odd if you don't constrain proportions. So leave that on. For this example, left click in this width and change this to 1500. And you'll see it automatically gave me 1125 because it's trying to constrain those proportions. Go ahead and left click OK if you're happy with the change of image size, or cancel, left click cancel if you just want to try it again, or maybe decide you don't want to change the image size. Left click on that. You'll notice that I didn't crop anything here, but the image is substantially smaller. It's roughly about 50% smaller. So once again, Control Z does an undo. That's it about image size. Now the last area we want to talk about is canvas size. Before we get into the canvas size, let's say I have this cloud up here, I have this cloud on this image, and I wanted to add text. Well, I could put text over the top. We've talked about that before in layers, but maybe I want to do it above the sky picture, and I want to do it, say, a black background or a different color. One of the easiest ways is if you left click image and we do left click canvas size. Now the first thing we want to show you is that it comes up inches by default. You can leave it, there's a lot of different unit of measurements, but let's go ahead and left click on the options here for unit of measurements. Percentage is a good way of doing it, or percentage is a good way to do it. Let's go ahead and click on percent. So we're thinking of if I wanted to increase, let's say, the height, I could. For this relative, let's not let's have that unchecked. And relative is indicates whether new dimensions are absolute or relative. Actually, we have a real good explanation in the actual written tutorial, so we recommend going to that. And it's actually one perfect sentence. We kept on rewriting it, and going, no, that doesn't sound right. So go check the blog for the example of what is a relative. On this, leave it unchecked and change that to 110. As you see, you're only changing the height. Now it's a little bit backwards when you're looking at this. You're thinking, oh, hey, I want to add to the top. We want to left click on this up arrow. Well, this is actually an anchor. It's basically saying, what do you want to lock down? What don't you want to move? So we really don't want to move the bottom. So left click on the bottom there. Now this canvas extension colors it gives you can change it to whatever the foreground color is or the background, and we can even do other. For this example, we're going to do black. Black will actually stand out here with the white clouds. So left click black, and if you're happy with it, left click OK. If you don't want to change the canvas size, then left click cancel. OK. You notice right up here, it did not remove any of that sky picture. That sky picture was always the same. And we can actually undo it here in a second. But actually put the black, put a 10% of this full image and added it to the top. This will give me more than enough room. Let's say I wanted to come in here and I wanted to have something like cloud. If I know how to type, cloud. A little small, but you get the point here. It's a nice little feature that you don't have to try to cut and paste this image into a new image that's bigger. So that's one way to do it. And that is it about the canvas size, the image size, and the cropping tool. This prepares you for the next tutorial, which is actually masking. Masking is going to be, I think you're going to come out of it saying, wow, that's a cool little feature in Photoshop. It's substantially better than the eraser tool. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have a few minutes, go ahead and scroll to the bottom and take the 10-question quiz and see how well you learn these 3 new features. And have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.